All right, welcome everyone. With this class, we're going to look into lasagna, delve into lasagna, if you will. This is a nice dish for the fall, autumn, and winter months. As it starts to cool down a little bit, we look to putting things in the oven and warming up our homes a little bit with some nice, tasty dishes. And I'd like to share two recipes with you today, or a recipe and some techniques. So we're kind of doing a yin yang of lasagnas. I'm going to show you how to put together a vegan lasagna. And then also we're going to do a nice meaty lasagna using our own silver sage beef and pork. So let's go ahead and get started. If you have questions as we're moving through this, you can go ahead and shoot them to us live and we will answer them as best we can. So we'll start with the meat lasagna. And this is a really neat recipe because you don't even have to cook your lasagna noodles. They're going to cook right in the pan, and it's a kind of a time-saving technique, and you get some good texture that way as well. So to start, you want to start with a lasagna pan, right? And I have a couple here. These are 9x13 baking dishes, and these are perfect for lasagna. These are your classic lasagna dishes, and either of these work nicely, those styles. So you're going to just kind of lightly grease that, and I just put a little olive oil in there and move it around. Then I've got a skillet heated here, preheated skillet, and I'm going to go ahead and put half a pound of beef and half a pound of sausage. So this beef is raised by Basics Market, and we sell it at our stores. It's all organic and pasture raised and all that, all natural. And then we also have a lovely pork here, pork sausage, which is made in-house from our own pork, which we also raise. So those are some good things to go to Basics Market for. So this is nice because you get all the seasoning from the Italian sausage. This is a mild Italian I'm using here. You could use a spicy Italian if you like to spice it up a little bit. So just throw that meat, 1 pound total, into the skillet. And we're going to brown it off a bit. And so with ground meat like this, you just want to make sure it's all nice and browned on all sides and thoroughly cooked. It is going into the oven again, so you know it is going to be cooked no matter what eventually. And then, so this lasagna is meat, cheese, and sauce and noodles. It's a really, really classic lasagna. Lasagna is the name of the noodle and the dish, right? And the word lasagna was originally a Greek word, and then it moved and took off in Italy, of course. But it denotes the noodle and that nice flat shape of noodle, which is and was a really common shape for people to produce at home. It's really easy to make those sheet noodles, and then a quick meal, throwing them together, layering them and baking them. Now, so as far as the cheese goes, we're looking at putting together a ricotta mixture. So I have 15 ounces of ricotta, and I've got 1 beaten egg. I'm using Gwendolyn's eggs, and again, these are hens raised by Basics Market and sold in the stores. All natural feed and really delicious eggs, and we're using one of those to mix with the ricotta, and some mozzarella cheese. So I'm going to go ahead and put my ricotta into a larger bowl. And then I'm going to mix that with the egg.
Chef Sam,
Yeah.
does it matter what kind of ricotta? Does it need to be whole milk, or can you use anything?
You know, you can use any kind of ricotta you like, and it's fun. And I just put a teaspoon of Italian herb mix in dried herb mix into the ricotta mixer. But yeah, any kind of ricotta you like will work great here. And yeah, and you can even make ricotta as a fun kind of easy cheese to make at home, and you can make it just with whole milk. I like to add a little cream as well and lemon juice and get a curdle going, but that's another class. So anyway, you mix your egg with the ricotta, and this just makes it really nice and rich and helps the ricotta set up a little bit in there. And then we're going to go ahead and throw in 2.5 cups of grated mozzarella. And I have another 1/2 cup here, which we're going to sprinkle on top at the end of the cook. Yes, another question.
A couple of questions about ricotta. Arthur would like to know, he said he'd heard that cottage cheese is preferred over ricotta, and he also wondered, and Anthony would like to know, do you drain the ricotta at all?
So the first question was, can you substitute cottage cheese for ricotta? Yes, yeah, you could definitely substitute cottage cheese for ricotta, and that, you know, that's good. That can, I think that can lighten it up a little bit or something. I know some people, and I've done that, and I don't know that it was, you know, something I was looking to do, but if I'm out of ricotta and I have cottage cheese, works well in this. And in that case, I tend to use the food processor to blend it to kind of get that more like ricotta-like consistency with the cottage cheese. And then I'm sorry, the second question. To drain the ricotta. You know, no, unless it is somehow, you know, I guess in a you could get a fancy ricotta that's somehow maybe in a bag in the way or something, and then yeah, take that out. But usually the ricotta is going to be, you know, the right consistency for this, and you don't need to drain it out or squeeze it or anything like that. Okay, so it looks like our meat is browning nicely. It smells really good, which is always a wonderful thing. Lasagna, it really makes everything smell wonderful, right? Okay, so next, let's go ahead, and that meat's just got another minute. Let's look at the noodle a little bit. So I've got a couple of varieties of lasagna noodles. So this is just your classic lasagna noodle, and that's what I'm going to use here with this meat lasagna. And you can actually just cook the noodle right in the pan without boiling it first. So of course you can boil your noodles and then they'll be cooked for sure, right? And cooked, but it's not necessary. If you add a little bit of water to the sauce, which I'm going to show you that technique, and then that creates enough steam in the pan to cook the noodles. And that's really neat. Then otherwise, there are oven-ready lasagna noodles which will cook a little quicker, and they're designed to cook just in the oven. And I have a gluten-free variety here. So if you're gluten-free, this is a pretty neat way to go as well. And if you're using those oven-ready noodles, I would recommend not adding the water to the sauce when we get to that stage, because you're not going to need that extra water. Anyway, so there's a few different ways to work with the noodles. You've got your oven ready, you've got your oven ready, which are just regular noodles, or of course you can parboil these and then drain them and use them in your lasagna. And what that will do is just cut down your cooking time a little bit, and you don't need that extra water in your sauce. Okay, so to drain this meat, I'm just going to go ahead and tip it, and then I just let that sit for a while like that, and all the oil will go down to one side. So we're just going to go ahead and drain the meat. And then I have here my 32 ounces of sauce. And you, of course, you can use 32 ounces of jarred sauce. This here is some sauce I just made, and it's really easy to make your own tomato sauce for pasta. Garlic, onion, some Italian seasoning, salt. I like to add a little touch of sugar, and some cans of tomatoes, olive oil. You're good to go. And it takes about 20 minutes, and then you whiz it, and you've got yourself some sauce. So yeah, look at some tomato sauce recipes if you haven't done it. And it's really nice with fresh tomatoes too. This time of year, tomato harvest time, there's a lot of fresh tomatoes, and nothing like a fresh tomato sauce. But of course, your favorite sauce in a jar works great here, and that's really easy as well. And really, lasagna is something that's so neat because you can put it together even a day ahead of time, and then pop it in the oven, and you've got your meal all ready to go. And it's good leftover and good for freezing, all that stuff. Anyway, so I put a little olive oil down here, and now I'm going to put the meat with the sauce. We're actually going to create a meat sauce. So here's the 32 ounces of sauce. And then I'm just going to grab the meat out of my pan where it has drained. I've drained all that oil out. Okay. So we're just mix the meat in with the sauce. And then we're going to add 1 cup of water. And this, I picked the bowl, I think, which is exactly the right size, which in this case isn't ideal, but lucky. So it fits just right. And then you just want to get that water integrated into your sauce. So now you've got like a really nice, like kind of loose sauce, which will cook your noodles in the pan, which is pretty cool. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and scoop 1 cup of that meat sauce. And with these measurements on this recipe, go big, because you've actually got a little extra sauce and a little extra filling. So like when it says a cup, a cup plus a little bit. And same with your ricotta mixture, 1/3 of a cup, plus a little tad is fine, because you've got some room there to move. Okay, so we've got our sauce down, and then we put our first layer of noodles, and you can fit, with one of these deals, you can usually fit 3 or 4 across, depending on the width of your lasagna pan. And then we'll go ahead and put down, let's see, next we're going to put down the ricotta. it's you got to have a plan of layers, right? And you want to get all this stuff all over so that you get some in every bite, some of the filling, and just spread it out. And keep in mind that this stuff is all going to kind of melt around anyway, so you don't have to be too crazy, but I do like to kind of get it around a bit. Okay, so we've got that, and now we're going to go ahead and put another cup of sauce on top of that. And again, like a cup plus a little smidgen. And now you can see how this is submerging those noodles, and it's going to cook them for us. And then we'll go again across, and you just repeat this a couple more times. So we're two more times, okay? Spread. And so right here, you could, if you wanted, you could layer in some veggies. If you wanted some mushrooms or spinach or anything like that. This would be the place to layer some stuff, if you like. And then we're going to go ahead and that cup of sauce again, and really get into all the corner pockets with the sauce. You want to make sure the noodles are completely covered. And then another layer of noodle. So the initial bake on this will be 45 minutes. Then we'll pull it out and then cheese the top. And so with the lasagna, you want to cook it through. Then and it's covered while it's cooking. So this pan is really neat because I actually have a lid that goes on it. But you can cover this with a sheet pan. Works really well for lasagnas, where you just pop a sheet pan on like that. And I like a sheet pan or a lid, of course, if you have a pan with a lid. But I like a sheet pan because you can check on it real easy. It's easy to come on and off. And of course, aluminum foil is often used also for lasagna covering. Okay, let's put the rest of this. I'm not even measuring this one because I know I just want all the rest of it.
Chef Sam, Sonia had a question. If you were going to add vegetables, would you need to saute them first and drain them in any way for this recipe?
Yeah, great question. That again, that's up to you. You don't have to, and I have seen some recipes where the vegetables go in raw, and with this recipe, that may be a pretty good way to go because the vegetables will give off water or vegetable juice, and that any moisture you get in there really can help kind of cook the noodles. So that you might want to go in raw like on this one, but normally I like to cook the veggies and you of course you could do that as well. And now just be sauteing up some veggies and then spread them. So either way really will work great. Okay, so now for this layer, I'm going to go ahead and put another cup or so. And then I like to cap it, so I'm just going to put a plain noodle top. One more layer. And then this top layer, I'm just going to put sauce right over it. And so these noodles are kind of like a lid really, and they're going to hold all that steam and all that down below. And then the top layer is often quite delicious, right? Because those noodles do get a little bit crispy, and then that's where you'll find your melted mozzarella, the half cup that we've reserved from the 3 cups. And by the way, to get 3 cups, you just need like one of those balls of mozzarella, like a 16-ouncer, and that's going to give you like almost 4 cups shredded. So that's more than enough for this recipe. Okay, so there you have it. And that's your meat and cheese lasagna, featuring all that beautiful silver sage meat and lovely cheeses. We have mozzarella and ricotta in there. And now I am going to go ahead and pop this in the oven for 45 minutes. Right, you're still here. All right, 45 minutes later, and here we go. So with the cooking, you can see we have a nice soft noodle and a beautiful lasagna here. I'm going to go ahead and put that half a cup of cheese over the top. And pop it back in the oven. And now I'm going to leave it uncovered. Okay, so that's in the oven 45 minutes, or it was in the oven 45 minutes. All right, now that's in the oven 15 minutes or so, just until that cheese gets nice and melty and the top looks the way you like it. And then you want to pull it out. It may be less than 15 minutes, depending on your oven. I know that with this oven, it's going to be less, because this oven, if you've been to this kitchen before, you know that it really cooks stuff quickly. All right, so next, let's go ahead and talk about the vegan lasagna. So like I said, this is a little bit of a yin yang. We have really good meat lasagna and a really good vegan lasagna as well. So you can either, look at these cows and be like, so cute. I would like to take them home and cuddle them, or you can look at them and say, so delicious. I wanted to take them home and eat them. And we've got you covered both ways. All right, so vegan mozzarella. This is a really useful and fun recipe, and there's a few recipes online, and I've just kind of combined some ideas that I've gotten there, so I don't have anything written for you here, but I am going to demonstrate. And then I'd suggest you just look up vegan mozzarella recipes online, and there's hard sets and soft sets. What I'm doing here is a soft set, so it's like a melty sort of vegan cheese, and this is also really great for vegan pizza. You can do pizzas. I've done pizzas with this stuff, and it works really well. So what I'd like to show you vegan-wise is this mozzarella, and then I'm going to show you a vegan ricotta as well. So this is a cashew tapioca-based deal. So so first, I'm going to put everything in the blender. Well, first you want to get your cashews, and you're looking for raw cashews. Now, cashews are really never sold raw. They're steamed because there are like little, it's a little bit of toxins on them. They're a seed of a fruit, and the cashew actually can kind of numb up your mouth and stuff like that. So they're always like steamed. But you want to find the kind of purest cashew you can, if you can, unsalted and what's called raw. But a roasted salted will work as well. And then again, you just want to look for as low, the least amount of salt in roasting as you can find. And then you can either soak those overnight, and this is just a half a cup, or you can just boil them in water like for 5 minutes and it works great, 5-10 minutes. And then maybe even let them sit in that hot water for a while and you're good to go. So anyway, we're gonna go ahead and I've got 1 1/4 or 1 1/3 cups of water here. I've got the soaked cashews. I've got 1 tablespoon of nutritional yeast. I have a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And then I have 4 tablespoons of tapioca starch, sometimes called tapioca flour. And this stuff is just magical for making like kind of melty vegan substances. And then I have some lemon juice, and a tablespoon each, lemon juice and apple cider vinegar. And all that stuff just goes in a blender. And then we're going to go ahead and whiz it up. So, whiz this stuff. And what we're looking for here is to just really break up those cashews and get them smoothed out, okay? This is a really fun process, and it's not unlike actually making milk mozzarella, and it takes a similar sort of patient mindset, but this is actually a lot easier. So then I've got my saucepan here, and I'm just going to heat this up and stirring constantly. So I'm gonna go, I wanna be over kind of medium-high heat with this. Okay, and then meanwhile, while that's warming up, I'm going to go ahead and set up for the vegan ricotta and check on our lasagna. Ooh, that's coming along nicely. I think I might pull the lasagna. Yeah, so we have a really nice melt here. I'm going to let it ride a little bit because we can get some color on there, but I'm going to turn off my oven, and that way it will just stay nice and warm and be excellent for me to eat in a minute. And then we're going to stir this stuff up. So I can feel it's already, and you will soon see, I know it is difficult to see there, but it's starting to set up. So you really want to be scraping this stuff from the bottom, and it's going to get sort of firm. I mean, really firm. And what we should end up with here is sort of a stretchy, gooey mozzarella. And this stuff is really neat. Like if you want to make like a vegan cheese dip, you could flavor this anyway. You could make like a queso with this, add like Mexican flavorings and make it into like a dip, really. It's pretty neat stuff. So if you do like to cook vegan, this is a fun thing to have in your repertoire. But yeah, I mean, I personally like anything lasagna. All right. So you can see now it's really setting up, right? It's pretty neat. And so it's easiest to utilize this when it's fresh. Once it cools, it does kind of harden a bit. And this never gets like, this one won't actually be like a gradable mozzarella. It's more of a spreadable one, but there you go. It's your melty mozzarella. Yeah, this is cool and it's delicious too. and so easy, right? Now you've got a big pot of vegan cheese. So there you go. Now, as far as, well, you know, we'll look at like how we would put this onto the noodle and so forth in a second, but let's move along and get onto the ricotta. Do we have a question?
Sam, did you say that that would hold, or you need to use it right away? What was your recommendation?
Yeah, you know, it will hold fine. It's just, it's easier to use when it's fresh and warm like that, because then you can spread it. So you kind of want to time it so that like you're going to assemble your lasagna. Maybe you'd have your veggies sauteed. So for my vegan lasagna today, I sauteed some veggies up. It's just spinach, mushroom, zucchini, some onion and garlic, and a little Italian seasoning in olive oil, and just I cooked them and cooked them down a bit. And you know, so you'd have that, and you had maybe have all your mise en place ready, right? I've heard of this concept. I'm going to be working on it for the rest of my life, but I like to think about it. But yeah, so you have stuff set up, and that might be the last step. So obviously, I in fact reversed order today with this, and I meant to do that second after the ricotta for that very reason. But you know, we can see how it goes if it sits for a few minutes. And what it's going to do is just going to set up a little bit. But once it hits the oven, it does melt again. And you can reconstitute it with a little bit of water in a saucepan and just get it back to that elasticity. So yeah, you could make it ahead, hold it in the fridge, and you would be all right. Okay, so the vegan ricotta, again, this is a real neat thing to produce if you're looking just, you know, if you want to dabble in, or if you are a vegan and want to make some ricotta kind of stuff. This one's based on tofu, is the base. So I took a block of tofu, cut it into 4 pieces, and then just put some paper towels under and on top and kind of patted it dry. So that's 1 pound of tofu. And then I have some things to add into that. A 1/2 teaspoon of salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. Oh yeah, and then before I start adding all this stuff, I do, if I think of it again, I give the tofu a little whiz, and this just gives me a better bed to throw my seasonings on. So here's a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of onion powder, and then here's 2 teaspoons of the Italian herb mixture or Italian seasoning. And of course, you can use fresh herbs, and I just substitute, you know, I usually do a tablespoon of fresh herbs for a teaspoon of dry herbs. So it would be 2 tablespoons of like basil and oregano, thyme, rosemary. These are all delicious herbs that would go in there. And then a tablespoon of olive oil and a teaspoon of fresh squeezed lemon juice. And then we're just going to whiz this up a tad. So with the ricotta, you can stop at any point as far as texture goes. So here's like a real kind of like rustic ricotta sort of texture, right? But sometimes, like with the lasagna, you know, we end up adding that egg and then mixing the ricotta with the egg, and you end up with more of that custardy style ricotta. And so sometimes for like a lasagna here, I'll take it down a little further and whiz it till it gets a little creamier, if you will. And I think that that's a nice spot to be for the lasagna. And you know, again, you know, leaving a little texture in there is nice. But for spreadability, whiz it up a little bit. And then I'm going to go ahead and pop this in a bowl. Yeah, so let's have a look at how this would come together, the vegan lasagna, real quick. So this is, we've got our ricotta, we've got our mozzarella, and we've got our veggies. Now, I showed you how to make vegan mozzarella, and I would highly recommend that. But of course, there are vegan cheeses out there and available at Basics Market, and there's some really good brands, and I like the cashew-based stuff personally. It has a good flavor, has good meltability, and there's a few brands out there. But yeah, making it yourself is so easy and so fun, right? Okay, so there's the ricotta, and then let's see what this mozz has done. So it's good. It's cooled off a bit, and now you can really see that melty cheese. So this is, yeah, just perfect, right, for like nacho cheese. You could make like nachos with this. If you added a little turmeric, it would turn it yellow, and then you'd have like a cheddar cheese kind of situation. Anyway, fun stuff. Yes, question.
And Chef Sam, you said that this, you need firm tofu for this?
Yeah, I'd recommend firm tofu for this. So yeah, like a soft tofu, and then a silken tofu, it'd be a little too soft. It would work, but just preference wise, firm is just right. I mean, there's soft, there's firm, there's extra firm, but I think firm is nice for this. Yes.
And Judy wanted to know how much tofu again are you using?
Yeah, 1 pound, so it's like 1 pack, and this recipe is just right for 1 pan of lasagna like this. Yeah, so again, it's, yeah, 1 pound of tofu. And let's see here. All right, so here we go. I put some sauce. I have a little bit of olive oil down here. And for this lasagna, I am going to use these oven-ready noodles that are gluten-free. So this is a vegan gluten-free lasagna, which, fits the bill for a lot of people's diet. And then with these little guys, I usually, they fit 4 across either way. And so we'll start like this, and then I just kind of alternate the direction that I'm putting them in. But same methodology here. Go ahead and spread our ricotta on the noodles. As far as the mozz goes, you can put, you could put some dollops in here. And then make sure just to have some for the topping as well. And this stuff gets nice and melty, so it'll melt and ooze around a little bit. But you can see that just looks good and ooey gooey, right? And then ooey gooey. And then we add some veggies. These are just the sauteed veggies. Very lovely. You could there are some neat, ground, vegan ground meat-like stuff, whether it's sausage, a sausage you like, or like, a burger, whatever. Any of that stuff can go in here. Again, you just want to do those layers. So the layers is that cheese layer, then, sauce, cheese, and sauce again. And in here, we're not adding any water to the sauce because these are the oven ready noodles. And then same deal, if I had cooked the regular noodles, I wouldn't add that extra cup of water. You could, of course, do this, this vegan lasagna by adding that and add that cup of water. And then you know, you could cook the noodles in the pot or in the pan, just like you would with the meat lasagna. Okay. Well, I probably don't need to go through this whole process again, right? But it is fun to do. I don't want to stop. I'm like, but yeah, so you just do those layers alternating up and until you get to your final destination. Oh man. And watch out for that vegan Mott's because it is going to jump off the spoon like that. Okay. Anyway, so again, you just finish with some noodles on top, and then I like to reserve your cheeses on top too, and I like to reserve a little ricotta for the top, and then a little mozzarella for the top, and that say one goes in the oven, right? Do do do, and then comes out. Nice and melty. And you can see that vegan mozzarella really melted all over. And then I have some dollops of the ricotta on there as well. And it bakes up really nicely on top. Okay, so let's have a look at our lasagnas and plate them up and see what the layers look like. So a couple pretty lasagnas, both different and both beautiful in their own way. And to add to their beauty, I have a little bit of chopped parsley, Italian parsley, and put over the top, and then you've got your Italian flag, right? And then let's see how they plate up. We'll start with the meat. Meat and cheese. All right, the noodles feel perfectly cooked. And that top layer is a little crispy for sure, as we like, but I should have used a knife to cut that. So if you're doing this at home, use a knife to slice your lasagna. Okay, anyway, quite lovely. And you can see we've got some beautiful layers of meat and cheese. Gorgeous. So there's our beautiful, although haphazardly cut lasagna. And then I do have a knife around here, I think. Oh, nice, thank you. And then so with the vegan one, let's go ahead and be civilized and use a knife. And then we'll use a fresh utensil here to not contaminate this for vegans. Boy, I mean, serving has never been my specialty. Let's see here. All right, well, pretty good. Okay, so here you see we have a beautiful vegan lasagna, and it has a melty top and all the rest. Layers of stuff and noodles. So that's it. There's two very different yet lovely lasagnas. And I hope you have the opportunity to make these soon for yourself. And please visit our markets, Basics Market, around the Portland area and get some of this great stuff and throw it in a lasagna, cook it up, and eat it. Well, if we don't have any more questions, I'm going to bid you adieu. Or I should say, you know, manja, I guess, right? Manja, you know, and have a lovely time cooking. Thank you so much.